I'm in Naples, Florida. First of all, David, thank you very much for supporting Two-Way. Some of us have been here from the beginning and really happy to see support for Bark's platform. I have a question that's a bit more macro-oriented. The US is $36 trillion in debt. We spend $1 trillion a year in interest. We are spending more than we're taking in 2 trillion each year. How is this sustainable for any length of time? When do we get to hyperinflation? And how long will the Chinese keep on buying our paper?
Do you want the bad news or the good news first? Because one of your snuck in premises there was that the way this bad thing would end is hyperinflation. And I think there's a bad thing coming, but I think it's the exact opposite of hyperinflation. And I'm going to support my thesis with one word: Japan. Our debt to GDP is over 120%. Their debt to GDP is 250%. They went through a big asset bubble bursting in the late 80s and went through a 30-year period of absolutely zero real economic growth. This term I've written about it countless times. It's been the biggest focus of my academic studies in my adult life, is Japanification. Post-financial crisis, the US essentially adopted a Japanification playbook. We're going to go into excess national debt and use greater fiscal policy to treat the things we're most afraid of. But all we're doing is essentially delaying the inevitable. Now, the problem with this thesis is a lot of people want there to be a big blow up in the sky type of moment, when in reality, we're living through a moment. Our real GDP growth was 3.13% from World War II to the financial crisis. After inflation, our economy grew 3.1% per year. It is now growing below 2% per year. Okay, up until the COVID moment, since financial crisis, it was 1.7%, basically half. So we are right now dealing with the pain of $36 trillion in national debt. If debt to GDP was not 25%, if it was down somewhere around 17 or 18%, we would be growing at over 3%. So I don't necessarily believe hyperinflation is the way that they would treat it. I think they would trade it with quantitative easing, with excessive interventionist monetary policy, with excessive fiscal policy, all of which avoids hyperinflation, but never allows the economy to grow at full capacity. So where it goes in 8 years, 12 years, 15 years, is there a big bang moment? Look, all I can tell you is Ronald Reagan left office and we had 1 trillion of debt. And our 10-year was at 9%, a 10-year treasury bond. And so then you fast forward the next 35 years of my life, and the 10 years at 4%. And we have 36 times more debt than we did when I was in high school.
I think there's one big difference between the US and Japan. We're a very optimistic society.
That's right.
Japan is not like that. Japan is very culture conservative. And I think that makes a big difference in how they treat things versus how the United States does. Tell me if you disagree.
Oh, I agree 100%. I agree so much that I think our frustration with subpar economic growth is so different than Japan's that we might just go out and elect a reality TV star to become our president. In other words, you see my point? The populist Trumpian moment is a result of American frustration, American disgruntlement with subpar economic growth.